Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Misinformation Trivia Night. Before we get started, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to get settled in. There are a few things that you need to know. So for one, you will need a device to watch the live stream, which if you can see me, you're already covered. You'll also need a device to play Kahoot on, which is what our trivia game is run on. So for that, you can use any other device. If you are doing this from one computer, you just need to have two windows open or two browsers, whatever works for you, so you can watch the live stream on one and the Kahoot on the other one. And as a note, we do have some super awesome prizes that were donated by some wonderful local businesses. So we have fun stuff from Salty Dog Bagels, from Tony V's, and from Architect Roasting Company. So we will be contacting the winners after tonight's trivia, but the important thing is to remember to add your email into the Kahoot when you are given that option. If you do not enter your email, we have no way of contacting you. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute, get everything ready and grab some snacks while you're at it, and we'll get started in just a sec. Okay, so I'm going to keep entertaining you just for a minute while you collect all of your things. Just a couple of notes before we get started. If you are watching from Facebook, you might notice that we have a bit of a lag. If you are watching from YouTube, the lag is still there, sadly, but it's not as bad. So if you have the ability to watch from YouTube, you can definitely do that. The lag will be a little bit shorter. And I will mention this again as well as a reminder before we get the Kahoot started, because it will implicate that a little bit. Other than that, if you are ready to go with all of your devices, just remember to enter your email so you can win our fantastic prizes, and we will get started. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. This is the very first time we host a live trivia online, so we're really, really excited. My name is Katrina. I'm a staff scientist at Science North, and I have two very, very special co-hosts joining me for this trivia tonight. Zoe and Felix are from our Student Science Advisory Council. Hey, Zoe.
Hi, everyone.
Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will get started. So helping us out off screen, we also have Renata, who is our live stream wizard, and Emily will be running the Kahoot when we get there. And another staff scientist, Bruce, will be answering some questions in the chat, and also adding in a little bit of extra science commentary just to help out with some of the questions that people might have about misinformation, about COVID-19, or even some general science things. So look out for those comments there. And if you have any comments, if you have any questions for us, any commentary, or if you're having trouble with Kahoot, please just put it in the chat, and we will be able to help you from there. Okay, you guys ready to go?
I think we got everyone.
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay. Okay, so we can get started. So before we get into the trivia, we will teach you how to Kahoot. So I'm gonna oh yes, Emily is sharing screen for us. Okay, we can go to the next slide, Perfect, okay. So as I mentioned, this is all about misinformation. And this is a time to get your COVID facts straight. Let's see how much you know. We're gonna have some fun. We've got some fun stories, some interesting science facts. So we're gonna get going. Okay, how to Kahoot. Let's go. There we go, perfect. Okay, so if you have never used Kahoot before, you will need, on whatever device you're using, go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin that is there.
The game pin right now is 939206.
Thank you, Felix. So we do have a banner running at the bottom of the screen. That is the game pin that you will use. Felix is on top of stuff tonight, that's for sure. So you're going to want to enter that in to play the game. And like I said, make sure you enter your email so that you can win some of our fantastic prizes. And that's it for this slide. Okay, Emily, we can go to the next one. Okay, so a couple of things to pay attention to. Now, this is where I had mentioned, if you are on YouTube, you might see up to about a 10-second lag. And if you are watching on Facebook, you might see up to a 20-second lag. So if you prefer to use YouTube and have less of a lag, you can definitely make that switch and watch the stream there. But just be mindful, because that number that you'll see in the purple circle is how much time you have left to answer the question. So you might see us chatting away and be out of time to answer your question. So just pay attention to the amount of time you have left on Kahoot to be able to submit your response. And how you submit your response are those fun colored little squares over there. So you're going to want to match them up to what you see on our screen. So if your correct answer is the red square with the triangle, that is what you will select on your screen. Okay, did I miss anything?
I think we're good.
Yeah? Zoe, all's good?
All's good in the hood.
Cool, okay. All right, we can keep going. It's just gonna take Emily a second to switch over for us. Okay. Oh, there we go. Perfect. You got people coming in.
The virus of misinformation.
Okay. Before we go further, I've got a comment in here. If at all you didn't do this, you can type your age and your email together as you're entering Kahoot. So you can do that at the same time, like before you enter the game. And now I'm gonna double check and make sure that we're okay to keep going before I go any further.
Yeah, I didn't know you had to do that, actually.
I didn't know that either. Okay, I've got it good. So we're okay to get started with some practice questions. So this will just let us know that we're all good to go, that everybody is, that Kahoot is working for everybody, is what I should say. And if you're having any issues, again, please let us know in the chat. If you have any questions or comments for us, that is the place to put them. And further to that, the practice questions are going to be a little bit of a test about how you feel about misinformation or what you think about misinformation, and just get you started for our trivia questions and what we're going to get into. Okay, question one. Let's see where people are from. So I'm sitting in my office.
You guys can go ahead and type all your answers in the chat. If you want to say hi to your fellow trivias in the chat as well, you can do that.
I think all three of us are in the Sudbury area, at least. So I wonder if we have people from outside of Sudbury. That would be very fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So just to note, I mentioned the lag time with the response, with people being able to respond. We do have 60 seconds per question. So some questions will take a little bit longer to answer. Some might not take as long. So just, again, be mindful of the time that you have to respond. You might still see me talking and you might run out of time. So I even have my comfy blanket, guys. It's really soft.
Too, actually. I got this one.
Oh, yeah. And that's my sweater that I've got over here too, which is great. Okay, we've got some submitted answers. Look at that.
People from Thunder Bay. Look at that.
Hey.
Hamilton in my living room.
That's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. Cool.
That's awesome.
Got some great locations going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to the first practice question. Okay. So how much do you think you know about the virus? This is definitely an opinion question. So as I was doing the research for this, I was telling Zoe and Felix earlier that I thought I knew quite a bit, because I'm in it and I'm kind of living misinformation and COVID-19 stuff all the time. But there's so much stuff to read that I did not realize how much I didn't know. So have you guys been reading different articles and kind of like trying to fill your brain with COVID stuff, or have you sort of just not?
We were coming up on, I think we passed 1 year, since the virus was first discovered in China.
Has it been 1 year?
Yeah, so
Oh
I've
my-
familiarized myself quite a bit with all the news and stuff, but
Wow. Can't believe it's been a
Definitely.
year.
Yeah, there is a lot out there for sure.
oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we've got our time up is here. All right. So people could learn more. Well, that's good. At least you've come to the right place. So hopefully we'll be able to teach you a few things. Okay, we can go to the next practice question. So you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So how much misinformation do you think you're consuming online? Honestly, I think there's quite a bit because it's super easy to post whatever you think, even if it's not right. Like, I hear things from my parents all the time, and sometimes I'm just off, searching it on my phone. Is this right? But
yeah, it's really tough when we get kind of bombarded with it all the time too, right? You've got your phone and your computer and people talking and the news, and there's just so many places where you can get information.
So many different sources.
Yeah. I always wonder, what would it be like if we didn't have social media?
Yeah, if we were back in the 80s and way back when phones weren't such a big thing and this was happening, it'd be a totally different not time with it.
I mean, I'm definitely a little bit older than both of you, but I still had a cell phone when I was a teenager. So it's since then, there's always been information. So it's a lot sometimes. Okay, that's a bit of a mix. 20 to 50%, the majority is good. That's good. That's good. Okay, so hopefully you're checking your sources. That would be good.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We can go to the next. Yep. Thank you, Emily, for knowing. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. So how much misinformation do you think is being shared online?
So I find that with a catchy title, like some of the misinformation articles might have, versus the more common, true articles, tend to get shared a lot more just because of the clickbait titles, which really help it get distributed around the web. For sure. I've even noticed that I've gotten really bad at clicking on clickbait, and I'm like, oh no, shame, don't do that. I tried my best, but it's really hard sometimes because you want to know what it is, right? You get exactly,
and so
sometimes you even know that it's it would be you better than to know that to believe it, but you still want to read the article just to hear some of these theories.
Yeah, these crazy statements that people have.
Mm-hmm. It's always interesting to see, what other people think or how they interpret other things. Okay, what do we have here? Ooh.
A lot of people went for 50-80%.
Okay.
Some people believe it's all misinformation.
Yeah, okay, too.
It's all lies.
It's all lies. I mean, so that's fair. Sometimes it's hard to know what you can and can't trust. We'll get to an example in one of our trivia questions too, so we'll see. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so this is our first category. It's some general science to get you started. So all of these questions are still related to COVID-19 in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to get some facts straightened out. So we ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, let's go, Em. First question. Okay, so we've talked about this a little bit. What actually is misinformation? So we know in our science communication world that this word can get mixed up with the word disinformation. And sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they're not exactly the same. So the key is knowing that they are different. And disinformation is basically like exactly what we were just talking about, lies. It's just all lies. So it's completely made up information that is purposefully wrong. Have you guys seen any pieces of disinformation recently that you were like, ooh, that's not true?
Honestly, I didn't know the difference between misinformation and disinformation until like a week ago. So, for all I know, I could have been seeing it for like the past 6 months, but I didn't know.
Okay, so we taught you something. There we go. I like that. Good. Okay. So we had some people put both accidentally wrong and purposefully wrong. Okay, yeah, so this is the big distinction. So disinformation is purposefully wrong. So someone has shared that information with like ill intention. So the purpose is to spread that information so that that lie kind of like seeps into like the real information. So misinformation, basically what happens with that is lines kind of get like crossed or twisted, right? It's like playing a game of telephone. I don't know if you guys ever play telephone, if that's like too old for you. Okay. We used to play it. So, you know, you don't end up with the same thing in the end. And that's basically what misinformation is. Okay. Next question.
Charming turtle in first place.
Yes. Looking good. Okay.
What is a virus?
So what do you guys think? It seems like you think you know what it is sometimes, but these words are just kind of said and we might not know what they mean.
Yeah, like if someone said like right away what's the difference between an infection and a virus, like I don't think everyone would get it right on the first try.
Ah, interesting. We got some good follow-up questions then.
A little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, just a little bit. So pretty good segue, Zoe. Good job. Good job. So yeah, it's interesting that you brought up infection. So can you have a viral infection is an interesting question. So so I know Bruce is in the background with some commentary, but when Bruce and I were talking about this, we were talking about the difference between also being infected and being sick. And what does that mean? And is that different? So this really helps us understand,
Look at this.
Lots of people got it right. That's awesome.
That's impressive.
Okay. Yeah. So, oh, there we go. Whoa, did we switch? Ooh, aquatic puffin is taking the lead. Charming turtle, what are you doing?
I find these names too funny.
I love these names. They're great. Okay. So again, Felix was right with the foreshadowing. So what are bacteria? So, so there is a pretty big distinction between viruses and bacteria because viruses can't multiply unless they have a host. So I may or may not have just given you a little bit of a hint. But, so yeah, just going back to our last question. So viruses can't reproduce on their own. They cannot multiply on their own. And so again, Bruce and I were chatting about this, and he has this like excellent analogy that he uses where he talks about a car manufacturing plant. So I don't know if you guys have heard this, but the virus comes in, kicks out the general manager and says, nope, we're going to start producing this now. And now every single car from there is a brand spanking new car with the virus. So,
Right.
so it's interesting. Okay, so there we go. So they can reproduce on their own. So viruses need the host. Bacteria does not.
It is also not another word for worm.
No. I bet you some people like to pick the correct answers because they're funny. Emily did a really good job at making some of these responses pretty hilarious.
I like it.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones in here. Just we'll get to some pretty good ones. Okay, let's keep going. What happened? Oh, look at that!
Turtle back on top.
There we go. But aquatic buffet streak with 3 correct answers in a row. Look at that!
Wow.
Cool. Okay, we've got some pretty sharp people in the crowd. That's good to know.
And for anyone joining us just now, the game code is right at the bottom if you want to join. It's not too late. So the next question is, what is an infection?
See, Zoe, there you go.
When you catch feelings for someone. Yeah. Definitely say that's an infection.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah. So can you have both a viral infection and a bacterial infection? This is the question.
Wouldn't that just like kill your insides?
At the same time? Yeah. I wouldn't want to have at the same time. Although it does happen because you could have a cold.
That's true.
And you could also have maybe strep throat or an ear infection.
It would be really unlucky, but...
Yeah, super unlucky.
Right. So you definitely could have them at the same time.
I think that hint helped a little bit.
I think so. Yeah. So you can definitely have either a viral infection or a bacterial infection. So the idea behind having an infection is that there is something like basically that has just interrupted your body, right? There is this foreign substance that has gotten into your body and something is just not right. And so that is kind of the idea of having the infection. So when you're sick, you are presenting symptoms of whatever you have. So you are actually sick because you can be, people better remember this. You can be infected and not have symptoms. So you can still carry around a virus and not have any symptoms, which is what we're seeing with asymptomatic COVID-19 patients.
Right.
So, okay. That being said.
Charming Turtle's still on top.
Yeah, the Charming Turtle's got a good chance at some bagels.
They're pretty good bagels.
They are really good bagels. Yes. That is true. Okay, Emily, we can keep going. Okay, what does having immunity mean?
When I first heard of having immunity, I thought it was like something in a TV show. Cause like, I don't know if you guys have watched Survivor, but like everyone kind of wants like immunity. So I was like, oh, that's clearly it. But I'm like, wait a minute. This is COVID-19, not Survivor.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Zoe. It's gonna, it might be like that for some people. Yeah. Little bit of like a dystopian world that we've been living in. It's been a bit strange, that's for sure. Yeah, I didn't even think of Survivor. That's a really, really good example though. When I think of immunity, of course, I have a biology background, and so my brain automatically goes to immunity. Yeah, so it's the ability to resist infection. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily how your body fights off infection. It's actually the ability to not get it in the first place. So it is a little bit of both, but it's really like the idea is that you don't want the infection. And so you want to have immunity to something so that you don't get it, which is what the COVID-19 vaccine would hopefully the goal is that it would provide that. So other vaccines do that for us, right? When you get the vaccine and you do not get infected, it's that resistance that your body has built up so that you don't get that infection. Yeah. All right, let's check this leaderboard.
Still, oh my gosh.
A lot of people moving up though.
Yeah, getting there, catching up. Okay.
What is the function of your immune system? I actually didn't know this until grade 10 science. And
Okay.
This is a cool topic that brought like a whole this is really what gave COVID-19 its like whole scary kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely something that and I mean there is so much science to this too, that we probably could talk about it all night. But so with COVID-19, we can also share sources after this and put them into the chat or the comments later too. But the thing with COVID-19 is that your immune response is actually making you sicker. So again, there's lots of science here. Yeah. So we won't have time to get into it, but the response to COVID-19, can contribute to the ammonia that it's causing. So it's very, very interesting.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I've been reading some articles, and again, you got to be careful. We were talking about misinformation here, and I don't want to give any misinformation. But there's preliminary research, of course, and they don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen with it. But there are people who are immunocompromised who are not actually reacting as severely to COVID-19, and they don't know why. So it's really, really interesting because there is something going on there, but we just don't know enough about the virus, and we don't know enough about COVID-19 to know what's happening. And this is why we need research. This is why we need to look into these things and examine what's happening with the virus and how it's affecting different types of people, because we just don't know. It's so new. We have no idea what that means. So
Exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to read some of these things to see what's going to happen with this research for a long time to come, I think.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Let's check the leaderboard, Emily. Ooh, Charming Turtle.
Building up a 500-point lead.
Wow. Look at that.
Very impressive.
5 players just hit an answer streak though. Like we're doing well, everybody.
Yeah.
Answer streak of 5. Holy.
Yeah. Renata says she's anxious for vaccines. In a good way or a bad way, Renata? I don't know. It could go either way, I think. Okay. All right. Let's get to the next question.
What does it mean to be immunized? Oh, fudge. You want to help me with that word?
Yeah, immunocompromised. It's a big word. You gotta say it slow, Felix.
Like
I gotta
break
do
it
my
up
syllables, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of just talked a little bit about this. I don't think I gave any hints though. I don't think I gave any hints away. But
your system is kind of broken. Yeah.
So what I can tell you is that immunodeficiency disorders are inherited. So they are passed down from one or potentially both parents, which is how you get them. Yeah, so that is the correct answer. So your immune system is kind of broken. So it doesn't work exactly the way it's supposed to. The correct definition is having an impaired immune system. So there's something going on that your immune system just isn't up to par. Something is happening. And so as I was mentioning, it's part of your genetics. It's part of the inherited code that you get from your parent, one or both parents. So there are I didn't even know this until I did this research. There are over 300 types of primary immunodeficiency disorders. So it can, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that your immune system can be immunocompromised from something like that. And that causes problems with, preventing infections, being resistant to infections like we talked about. It can also potentially lead to not being able to get vaccines, which, gets into the whole idea of how do we have herd immunity and what does that mean? And can immunocompromised people actually get these vaccines or not? And how do we keep them safe? So it gets into all of this talk that is definitely like we're going to see, I think, more of once we see our COVID-19 vaccines start coming out too. I think there's going to be a lot more conversation about this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had no idea there's 300 different...
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know either until I did this. So I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, I knew there were a lot, but I didn't realize how many there were. Okay, Emily. What do we got here?
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
I'm going to need to know who this charming turtle is at some point.
Yeah, what the heck? They're doing so good.
So well. Oh, Renata says she's anxious in a good way.
This question, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say she's excited for her immune system to be protected and to help protect the community.
Exactly.
So, it's good. Okay, go ahead, Felix.
I hope this question, this should be a pretty easy one. We've been hearing about it a lot ever since the first coming of COVID. What does it mean to be asymptomatic?
Yeah, so in my research, of course, I'm going to totally throw in all of my fun research facts for you. So this has been pretty tough with COVID-19 specifically. And like Felix mentioned, we've been hearing a lot about this. We've been talking about asymptomatic people. And one of the biggest challenges is that if somebody is asymptomatic, they don't know that they're sick. How do they know that they have COVID-19?
That's the scary part.
Yeah, this is what's been so hard on the healthcare professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah.
So you were infected, but not presenting any symptoms.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't have any symptoms, you have no idea that you've actually been infected. So what we're finding in research is that 40 to 50% of people who are testing positive for COVID-19 are asymptomatic. But there's still increasing community spread. So that means that asymptomatic people, 100%, are still spreading the virus in the community. So it's pretty tough to know when almost half or roughly half the people being tested and are positive are spreading it. And we have no way of knowing that they're infected before that happens. So it's tough. Yeah. Okay, Charming Turtle still in the lead. Ooh!
Will they get
the leaderboard is changing though. Mm-hmm. That's what's nice about Kahoot. It's not only about getting the answer right, but it's also timed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta be quick on draw. Okay.
So this question is, what's an incubation period? What is an incubation period?
I purposely made these answers tough. I was feeling like I needed a tough question somewhere in here. I mean, for this section too, and then we get into a different category, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like with COVID, it's kind of introduced all these new terminologies that's kind of always been around.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never heard, I don't know about you guys, obviously maybe, Katerina, if you've heard of them, but I don't know, Felix, if you've ever heard of all of these words before COVID was around.
No, exactly.
Again, I'm a little bit older than both of you. And I've been to university, and I definitely took biology in university.
Small background in science, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a leg up on you, Zoe.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
This is interesting. So a lot of people said the numbers of days before getting contagious.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually It's
Yeah.
actually the number of days between getting infected and seeing symptoms.
Mhm.
So yes and no.
Yeah, this is a bit of a tricky one, because it can depend on kind of what's happening. But when you look at it, it's really from the time that you have been infected to the time that you see symptoms. So there is also a period of time where you are contagious and then also potentially not contagious, but that's not the same thing. So.
Is that like a whole
Okay,
word?
let's check the leaderboard. Let's keep going.
No way! Look
Oh,
at Genius
no!
Pony.
Here we
Stepping
go.
up to its name, really being a genius here.
Right? Oh, and Stellar Dog is back with an answer of three streak answer. So there we go.
Nice.
Perfect. Okay. Let's get into the next category. So we've kind of been talking a little bit about this. So this one's about vaccines. Aha. So I noticed Bruce just commented in the chat that you can be contagious before you see symptoms.
That's what we were talking about again earlier, back with the asymptomatic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're asymptomatic, you might never see symptoms. So, okay. So vaccines provide cures for different illnesses, true or false? Got a couple seconds left to go. Let's see what people say. I'm curious about this one.
Yeah, me too. Oh, wow.
Hey, good job. Good job to those people.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. So, so vaccines can't offer a cure or treatment, but vaccines help control spread. So because vaccines are building your immunity, and helping you, you know, we were talking about that, that ability, your immune system has that ability to resist infection. That's what's happening with vaccines. So they're building that immunity for you so you can resist the infection, but it doesn't mean that they're actually going to cure the illness itself. So we have seen, you know, different illnesses eradicated because of vaccines, because our immunity to those types of illnesses has grown so much, and we've gotten to a point where we have herd immunity, which I learned a new phrase for herd immunity as well. It's called community immunity, which I thought was pretty fun, and I like that better. So yeah, when we get to that point, we're really controlling the illnesses and the diseases that are out there. And a good example is something like polio. So that is something that with vaccines, we've helped control really, really, really well. Yeah. Okay. We can go to the next question. Oh man. The leaderboard is getting intense.
The Genius Pony has 9 correct answers in a row. That is insane.
That's amazing. Kudos. Okay. Next question. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting conversation. So we all know and we just mentioned that COVID-19 just had a first birthday. So would you get the COVID-19 vaccine tomorrow, knowing that it was developed in less than a year?
I wouldn't, actually.
Oh,
really?
Interesting, Zoe.
Yeah. Like, if there's no previous research that it's successful, what's the point of going to get it and then just having to go like 4 more times?
Okay.
I don't know, like.
Yeah? Okay, Felix, do you want to tell us what you think?
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be like the first. I would wait for someone to go and then like wait like 2 weeks and see what happens within like. But I'm not. I'll take one for the team. Like I'm not gonna wait too hard. And not to mention, Canada has a very strict guidelines and standards when it comes to like health, like in providing the vaccines. They have like the 8-step vaccine safety system before vaccine. So I'm not too worried. I know Canada does a great job with the health professionals.
That is very, very, very true. Yeah. So Renata, I love Renata's comments in here. She says, kudos, Felix. So she's ready. She's like, she is ready to go. I am like kind of a little bit between both of you. So would I get it? Definitely. Do I agree that we need more research? 100%. So I think being in science and being a scientist and just knowing kind of how research works, I know we need it, and I know that it's so important to know how things happen and what's going to happen. But that being said, I am also definitely like pro-vaccine. I have all my immunizations. I got my flu shot every year. I am one of those people. So I would for sure get it and yeah, see what happens. And then, you know, just read up on the research and keep living life. That's where I'm at. But yeah, Felix is right. We definitely have like a really, really stringent process in Canada. So if you are getting a vaccine in Canada, you best believe there was some really serious research that went into that before you got that vaccine. So, okay, Emily, next question. Okay. So this might be a tricky one. I think people have been talking about this in the news a little bit. Now, you also have to watch the news. And I don't know how many people still want to watch the news. But
CTV News at 6, man.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Sometimes my dad plays it on the family TV.
All right.
In the living room.
Yeah. Okay. Because I only watch it when I'm at my parents' house, and it's at my parents' house. I get my news from this device right here. This thing.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the majority of the people these days.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna insert some science in here. So vaccine efficacy and vaccine effectiveness both measure the proportionate, this is I'm giving you a definition, the proportionate reduction in cases among vaccinated persons. So vaccine efficacy happens when it's a little bit more controlled, like in a lab setting, where the researchers have more control over what's happening. And vaccine effectiveness is used when a study is carried out and conditions aren't exactly typical or exactly what the researchers would want. So there's a little bit of a difference in how those terms are used. But it still means that there is a percent reduction of the disease in the vaccinated group. So when we do a trial and we are looking for the efficacy of a vaccine, we are looking at the percent reduction of the disease in that group. And then that means that, you know, if we were to give that vaccine to other people, we are hoping that it is reliable and valid. And that means that it can be replicated out in the real world. And so we're looking for that vaccine efficacy when it comes to the general public. So that is the idea of vaccine efficacy. So I know we've definitely heard a little bit already from Pfizer and Moderna, and there's a couple of others working on vaccines. And we've heard that we're looking at like a 90% plus vaccine efficacy, which is actually very, very, very high. So it's looking good for COVID-19, I hope. Well, I'm sure we'll see more research. Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. Hopefully, we'll see some more research, and we'll keep researching as time goes, and we'll learn a lot more about it, and be able to get it under control. Like get to a point where we can actually control this virus a little bit better than what we're doing at the moment. Okay, let's go to the next question. Ooh, new person in the lead. There we go. Stellar Dog is still like doing a great job though.
We have adorable panda stepping up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is a general question about vaccines.
Is this like different per person? I've always wondered if like someone's gender or like their genetics play a part in what their side effects to a vaccine could be.
Yeah.
This can definitely change per person. Everybody will see different side effects. I can give you a personal story. So my dad is in his 60s, and when we get the flu shot, I don't get the same flu shot that he does. So he gets one that's meant for a bit of an older adult, because he's higher risk for having more severe flu symptoms than somebody who is a little bit younger, like I am.
So give it like a smaller dosage.
Yeah, exactly. So he actually, when we got the flu shot this year, he actually had a fever, and I just had like a little bit of swelling on my arm for maybe a day, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah. So definitely it differs depending on how your body reacts to it, for sure. But yeah, also all of these can be side effects of vaccines. So I think the most important thing here is that most people have super rare side effects. So not rare. Oh my goodness. Not severe. Rare side effects are not common. So most people will see, again, like a little bit of swelling on the arm where you've gotten your vaccine. You might get a little bit of a fever, because again, remember we were talking about like foreign substances in your body. You still, like, a vaccine is still a foreign substance in your body. And so your immune system's like, whoa, hold up. What is this thing that is in my body that's not supposed to be here right now? So you might still have an immune response because there's something that your body is like, whoa, hang on a sec. Like, I don't know what this thing is. And so you have that reaction anyway. And that could actually strike a fever, which is what happened to my dad when he got the flu shot this year. So you can react in many different ways depending on who you are, and again, how your body reacts to it. Yeah, I'm glad everybody got this one right. It's good.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. So I do want to mention that there is zero scientific evidence that vaccines can cause other medical conditions. When I was in school, I know we talked a lot about vaccines and autism, and this is still something that comes up, but there is no scientific evidence that is actually a thing that does happen. So it's really, and this is where, reading misinformation and having a critical eye on what you're reading is very, very important, because you need to know that you need to follow the scientific evidence and make sure that is what you are reading to make your decisions, because that's what's going to help you. So, yeah.
And I think that conversation is going to lead great into our next section.
I think so. Okay.
So glad to see Charming Turtle still on the leaderboard, although they've fallen back to 4th place.
Yeah. Genius Pony's kind of slacking over there too. Okay, that was a pretty good segue, wasn't it, Felix? So, do we think that natural herd immunity is an option? Okay, so do you guys know what this means?
No, honestly.
No. Zoe says no. Felix?
I believe well, I don't want to give away the answer either, or I guess not, but
it's okay.
There's no right and wrong answer to this question. It's pretty much just your opinion, as it's a poll, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I believe that herd immunity is like if everyone just gets it, and then we kind of just go through the paces with that, and then just kind of build the immunity in our system without the vaccine, like by actually getting the virus, and see what happens from there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So when we're talking about natural herd immunity, I love Bruce's jokes. It's so funny. He just said, herd immunity, what the heck? I'm not a cow. So that's actually why a lot of doctors have been using the idea of community immunity people. Yeah, so okay, we got like a good mix. 50% say we need vaccines. So yeah, Felix, you're like bang on. The idea of like natural herd immunity is, you know what? Hey, let's just all get sick and
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's not necessarily exactly how it would work. And it might not go the way that we think it would go.
It's putting a lot of lives at risk.
It definitely is. And I mean, we can, again, this is another conversation that we could probably talk about all night. Is that a good thing or is that not a good thing? And what does that mean in terms of putting vulnerable people at risk, and how fair is that to those people who are looking to, our medical system for help? Yeah, it's not good. Oh my, Renata just said like a chickenpox party from the old days. Yeah, so I think you guys might be a little bit young for that one, but when people at school had the chicken pox, parents would just take you to go spend time with your friends so that you would get the chicken pox, and so you would have it and be done with it, because at that time we didn't actually have a vaccine for the chicken pox.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a shift, because we have one now, and the thought about it is completely different, but. Yeah, so natural herd immunity, like for sure, but at what cost?
Exactly.
What kind of complications are we going to get into? Yeah. Okay. Next question.
What is a live vaccine?
Okay, so we have different types of vaccines. So what is a live vaccine?
I actually don't know this one.
Yeah,
Ooh.
no, what I was
Cool.
thinking isn't on there, so.
Okay. So these responses are also a little bit tricky. We threw in some pretty funny responses on some of them, and then some of them, Emily and I thought we'd make them a little bit trickier for you. So there are different types of vaccines. So live vaccines are one, and inactive vaccines are another. So with inactive vaccines, I mentioned the polio vaccine, or I mentioned polio, but the vaccine for polio is actually an inactive vaccine. And that means that that vaccine uses, the definition says germs, but uses dead germs of whatever it is to build the vaccine or create the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't actually get sick from that vaccine. You can't really get sick from vaccines. That's also not a thing. It's a good thing to remember. So a live vaccine, is made with weakened germs. So whatever it is. So an example of this, which both of you would have gotten this vaccine when you were a lot younger, if you have your vaccines, is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, or the MMR vaccine. So it is made with weakened germs. So that goes into your system. Your body, again, has this immune response of like, whoa, what is this going on here? Builds up that resistance and that immunity towards it, and that is how a live vaccine works. So again, in comparison to an inactive vaccine that actually has dead germs in it. Okay. Oh, we got some moving around.
It's a tight leaderboard, honestly, in the top 3 spots there. So Genius Pony is only 300 points behind Adorable Panda, and Fast Yurchin is right in the middle between them.
Yeah.
Gonna see who ends up with the bagels.
I'm great. I want to know who's gonna win. Maybe I can convince somebody to share with me. Okay. I believe that was our last. Yeah, that was our last one for the vaccines. So we're into the next section.
Going by quick.
Okay, let's bust a myth. So we're gonna talk misinformation here.
Hand washing for minimal of 20 seconds helps defend against COVID-19. What song can you sing to pass the time?
Okay, so there are 2 songs on here that you can actually sing.
What is a Lizzo?
I'm just thinking of Bruce and his "What is a Lizzo?" Can I get sick from a Lizzo?
Bruce is really good for those fun dad jokes. Yeah, there we go. He just commented.
Speaking of the devil.
So funny. Okay, so I definitely love Lizzo. She is for sure one of my favorites. But this is actually a really good way to know if you are washing your hands for 20 seconds. So So our local health unit actually recommends singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which I don't even ever remember the words for when I try to sing it. But there's definitely like a hand washing method. So have you guys seen, there's like posters in bathrooms like all across the city that have like the hand washing method on them. And there's a reason you're supposed to wash your hands like that.
There you go. So the two right answers, Love on Top by Beyonce and Truth Hurts by Lizzo.
Yeah, so if you sing, I believe it's the chorus to both of those, you will have a 20-second song to wash your hands to. That was just a fun one. Okay.
I mean, this is gonna take an effect on the leaderboard. I'm excited to see what this does because a lot of people got it wrong.
Oh, look at that.
There you go.
Stellar Dog coming back in. Oh, yep. Bruce says you can also sing Happy Birthday. So yeah.
That's what I heard as well, yeah.
Yeah, so basically just pick something that's 20 seconds and go for it and just make sure you're washing your hands properly.
So another true or false. If I get a vaccine, I will get sick from it.
Okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about this.
We did.
So I will I'll let people answer before I give the answer away.
It's a cute dog, as our
picture. It's got the little ice pack on top too.
So cute. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it is definitely false. So I know some people, because we've been talking about the flu shot as well, some people notice that they get sick after they get the flu shot. But it's totally a coincidence that you get sick after you get the flu shots. Vaccines can't actually cause that illness. So it's interesting that it just happens to some people way more often than not, and they're like, no, the flu shot makes me sick every time. But it's not actually the flu shot.
It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's keep going. See what's going on. Ooh,
adorable panda. We're moving up a little bit.
Coming back.
Look at Stellar Dog's score right now. It's 1-1-1-1-1.
I mean, you couldn't do that if you tried on purpose.
That is really impressive.
I love it. Okay, let's keep going, Emily. All right. Ooh,
this is a big question at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah. So can your pets spread COVID-19 to humans? There's been a lot of talk about different animals. I know there was in the Netherlands, there was a report about
a dog, I believe.
There was a dog somewhere else. I don't know if it was also the Netherlands. I know there was mink in the Netherlands that people were saying they found actually had COVID-19. But they weren't sure that there was a cross between the farmers and the mink. And so they're still studying kind of what that situation is because they really don't know what happened. And I believe there was like a tiger or something at a zoo somewhere.
Wow.
In New York, maybe? Yeah. So I'm gonna end up giving away the answer if I keep going. I'll wait 3 seconds. Be patient.
I remember at the beginning of COVID, my aunt came and like she just like stood in the driveway, and obviously we were 6 feet. But when her dog saw my dog and they started like running around chasing each other, they didn't respect the 6 feet. But and it was like the big thing, like don't pet because she was high risk, and we were trying really hard to not pet her dog. And
yeah, well, that's the perfect example of like not knowing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a pretty good mix. So we actually aren't sure. So the interesting part is that COVID-19 was originally spread through zoonotic transmission, so from animal to people, but they're not 100% sure how that works from humans to pets or pets to humans, and there just isn't enough research. So yeah, maybe, but we actually just aren't sure how it can spread. So again, another reason why we need more research. Okay, Renata, yes, the Bronx Zoo was the tiger.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a little worrisome.
A little bit, yeah. Well, it makes you question, right? Because it's kind of like the fear of the unknown. Like if we don't know, how can we do anything to protect our pets or protect ourselves or the other animals? Like, there are people who do work in zoos, and what do they do? How do they know, what that situation is? So it leads to a lot of questions, that's for sure. Okay. This one is an interesting one. We'll go to the next question, Emily. Okay, so drinking tonic water will help protect me from contracting COVID-19. So I guess this is a piece of misinformation that not a lot of people have heard, but it's been floating around a little bit.
I haven't heard of this at all, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear of this.
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background. We don't have a ton. We've got like 7 seconds. Okay, so there is confusion between let me see if I can actually say this. The chloroquine, which is hydroxychloroquine, okay, and then quinine, which is in tonic water. So both of those things, so hydroxychloroquine and quinine, are actually both anti-malaria medications, which they were trying as a potential treatment for COVID-19. So there's actually no medical evidence that they work. But again, pieces of misinformation get out there, and the idea that quinine and chloroquine are kind of the same got out there. And so people were thinking, well, if I drink tonic water, this might help me and this might protect me. But there is like no medical evidence that is true. Tonic water is not going to help you. And interestingly,
there was actually like people buying tonic water in like big amounts because they actually believe this.
Yeah.
This myth.
Yeah, so some of these stories, Paulo is someone who's working with us. I know Felix, you know.
Yeah,
Paulo.
exactly.
He's our scientist in residence at Science North, and he was actually telling me this story too. That there are some places in the world that have seen increased numbers in tonic water purchases because people were just really hopeful that this might be something that would work. So
like, you're so simple. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go to the next question.
There you go, Stellar Dog taking the lead.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, so using mouthwash daily will kill any COVID-19 virus in my system. So remember when I mentioned we were going to have an interesting piece of misinformation and you got to be really careful with what you read? Well, CTV shared a headline that discussed mouthwash killing COVID in 30 seconds in preliminary lab settings. However, it was for sure clickbait because they did not put all of that in the actual headline. So the article, if you read the article, it tells you and it talks about it and it says that these are like very, very preliminary findings, that it was in a lab setting only. But if you only read the title, you will think that mouthwash is gonna kill COVID-19.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Such a reliable source too.
Mm-hmm. This is how a lot of misinformation can start, as people like see that title and they don't go further and they don't read the whole article and they just text someone else or have a conversation with someone and say, oh, I've heard that this and this that mouthwash can kill COVID.
Exactly.
Right?
And really that information is not exactly incorrect. Because in a lab setting where they have produced that experiment, exactly, it does.
Exactly.
But it's not going to kill COVID-19 once it's entered your respiratory system at all. No. So those are two very, very different things. I noticed in the comments, Amy said, but you're going to be minty fresh. So
that is a bonus.
Okay. This is our... we're getting into our last question of this section. Stellar Dog still on top. Okay.
The last myth is, if you have a virus but you don't have any symptoms, can you infect someone else?
So we have definitely talked a little bit about this. I don't want to give away the answer. I think people might know what this one is because we've had some conversations already.
Exactly.
So we definitely talked about being asymptomatic. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't infect somebody else if you don't have symptoms. And we talked about like 40 to 50% of people who are testing positive for COVID are actually asymptomatic, but they're still contributing to community spread. Because if they weren't, our case numbers wouldn't be as high globally. So we know that asymptomatic people are still infecting other people because the case numbers are so high. So it's challenging. It's tricky. It's tricky to know if you are going to infect someone else or not. That's why you have to stay home. Okay.
Which brings us into our next section perfectly.
It's like I've done this before, Felix.
The social circles are popping.
Right? I feel like we need like some pumped up music when I read that category title. Okay, first question.
What is
okay, so what is a social circle?
This one kind of makes me curious in regards to a school setting. Where do the people that we pass by in the hall or stand beside outside, even though we're wearing masks, we're still really close to them? So where does that sort of play into our social circles?
It did become more of a gray area, I think, after summer ended. Definitely as like people got more comfortable with the idea of COVID, as like versus in March where we were in like full lockdown with 3 active cases in Sudbury.
Yeah, well, that's also a really good example of how situations can evolve, right? Like back in March, we really had no idea what we were dealing with or what was going to happen. We didn't know what the consequences of, going to work or going to school would be.
Exactly.
So again, we keep talking about this research business. We definitely need more research. And so now that we have a better understanding of COVID, how it spreads, knowing that it spreads through droplets. So, I noticed Bruce put in the chat, like, that's why we wear masks. And yeah, that's going to help us a little bit. And that distance that we keep from people is also going to help us a little bit more. So a social circle, like this goes back to what Zoe's saying, a social circle is definitely like dependent on kind of what your social circle looks like. So, I mean, I have a house and I live here by myself. So really, I shouldn't see anybody technically.
Yeah.
And, if you, depending on who you live with, some people live with roommates, some people live with their parents or their families, or whatever your family might look like. And so there's definitely a little bit of a difference in how people define what their social circle is. So it's definitely important to make sure that we're following those guidelines to the best that we can. Of course, we can get into so many conversations about this. It's really important also to see your family for mental health reasons. So
especially going into the holidays in the next month.
Yeah, so it gets really tough when you're in isolation or you're not seeing people. So this actually goes into our next 2 questions really well too. So currently in Sudbury and Ontario, our social circles are paused, but there are definitely ways to create a good social circle. So we will get to that. Okay, let's go. Next question, Emily.
Stellar Dog still in the lead here, but only 200 points ahead.
Yeah. These next 2 questions are, so the next one's an opinion question. So this one might throw off the leaderboard a little bit. Okay. So we just talked about them being confusing.
It's true. And I find especially now that it's not going provincial, but it's going in like in hotspots, it's also making it hard to find like not reliable, but more present dated stuff that give you the proper information that you need to stay safe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to remember.
It is.
Like, all the different rules, it's kind of hard to recall every single one.
And honestly, like, I think that's such a good point, Zoe, to bring up, because I just read a really funny blog that this woman wrote, and it was about people acting like this is normal, and nothing's normal. You know, everyone's like, oh, I gotta go to work, I have homework to do, I gotta go to do this, and I need to make dinner, and we're still kind of moving through stuff like everything is totally normal, but it's really not. We've got regulations and restrictions and all of these things that we're following. And it's tough. It's tough to kind of keep track of everything that's happening. And that's okay. That's totally normal for it to not be normal. So I also find that, you know, it's kind of confusing sometimes. Like, you need to remember what all of these restrictions are and what the guidelines are, and make sure that you're following them and being safe so that you're protecting other people. So, you know, Felix, you mentioned like finding good places to look. You can definitely check your local health unit's website, right? They've got stuff there. The province also has, if you just type in, you know, Ontario and then social circles, it'll automatically pop up and give you a whole bunch of information on like weddings and parties, indoor, outdoor, all kinds of things. So
there's also like organized events and unorganized events as well.
Yeah. So all of that's there. And then, of course, you know, our city website also has information as well, because like you mentioned, it's regional. So it's going by the jurisdiction of our health units right now. And then that also makes a difference, because we might be in yellow, but there are areas in Toronto that are in red and they're on lockdown, but we're not. So we need to kind of respect those boundaries for other regions as well. So it's good to kind of like know where you can go to look up some of that information, especially if you have family that lives out of town and you want to make sure that they're being safe and that you're being safe for them as well, right? So it's definitely a good thing to know. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I had mentioned. So to create a safe circle, should you start with your family members that live or frequently visit your house, or not? I'm not being too stealth, am I? So this is kind of what we were talking about with, you know, like different considerations that you might make depending on what your family looks like. You know, I mentioned that I have a house and I live by myself, but I also have parents. So I personally have included my parents in my social circle. You know, we definitely make sure that we follow all of the rules that we need to follow and that we're careful and that we're protecting other people, but everybody's social circle can look so different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so the Ontario government has actually put out, I believe it's a 5-step process to build a safe social circle and understand what that means for you. So, you know, they understand that we need to have social interaction. We're humans and we totally need that. Even if you're like the most introverted person ever, you still need to see people and you still need to do things, right? So it's just important to do it in a good way that's going to keep you and everybody else safe.
Look at that. So fast Yurchin just passed Styler Dog, and we only have 2 questions left. So one of them is a true and false, and the last one's a multiple choice.
It is.
So the ongoing battle. We'll see if Stellar Dog can do a comeback.
And I think if you were maybe paying attention to the chat, you should get this one right. Okay.
I think this one is debatable for some people, like depending on what setting you're in. Obviously, like, I have my opinion, but I don't know if someone else would probably have a different idea for this question.
I think this is a good point. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Zoe. I think this can be up for interpretation depending on
the circumstances. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and who you're with, right?
I think everyone of age 2 or older should wear a mask in public settings and when they are around people who do not live in the same household. But
For sure. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest difference is, are those people in your social circle or not, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see what happened to the leaderboard.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Move it around.
Dollar dog. So we have one last multiple choice. If Fast Urchin gets this right, I'm pretty sure they're the winner.
Yep, I think so.
We'll
Okay.
see what happens. I feel like there should be a drum roll or something.
Right. And I feel it's a multi-select too, which means there's more than one right answer here.
Exactly.
It just had to be tricky on the last one, you know. We had to do it.
I did it with a bang.
Right? So we talked a little bit about this.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like reliable, easy sources to get information on social gatherings.
Yeah. And so these sources are also really like super reliable for any information related to COVID-19 too, because there's definitely more than just social gatherings. But it's something that, you know, people are confused with, or like lines, like you said, lines can get blurred. So it's important to kind of have that like up-to-date information and know what's up in your area and what you're doing as well. Bruce has a go masks in the chat, which is just
perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
So most of the people said the public health Sudbury's district, which is great. But you can also go, like we mentioned earlier, on the city's website. You can find a lot of information there.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's also provincial information, there's federal information. So I think it depends on what you're looking for. Because if you're looking for something that's directly in your region, you definitely want to hit up your local health unit or your city's website, or, you know, any other local like healthcare professionals or organizations. Like the hospital might have more information as well. Your family doctor, or a local clinic might have more information too. So, you know, use the resources that you have. And the health unit is always a fantastic resource because they are connected provincially as well. So they're a great place to go for that kind of information. And they have links also to provincial resources and federal resources from there. So it's definitely a good spot to kind of get all of that info. Okay, that was our last question.
All right.
Check the leaderboard now because I'm really curious.
So in third place, we have Adorable Panda. Congratulations.
Nice. Second is Amusing Meerkat.
Nice. And
I think that means, yes, Fast Urchin with the first place.
Nice.
Hey.
Good job, everybody. That's awesome. I love it. I love that there was some competition going on there.
That was close. That was a close game.
It was a very close game, for sure. That's awesome. Okay. So we've got one more thing before we go. Emily is in the background, flipping some stuff around.
Our tech wizard.
Yep. If it weren't for Renata and Emily, I'm telling you, I don't know. His dad jokes. I mean, come on, we gotta hand it to Bruce for sure.
Carried the team with the dad jokes.
Always. It's having him around work is definitely like a good time because you are never short of a good joke. That is for sure. So it's been a good time working on this project with him. That's definitely something I can say. Okay. Oh, Emily says it's being really slow. We've got one more thing to talk about.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we've been talking so much about misinformation. We don't want to miss this. So this is something that we've been talking about this whole time, but think about your sources, think about where they're coming from. Can you trust them? You know, where do you get that information? That's super important to know. So SIFT is this fun acronym. We love acronyms at Science North too. We use them all the time. They're great.
Easy way to remember things. Exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So stop, investigate, find trusted sources, and trace the original, because you never know where something actually did come from. So these are for sure really important steps to follow when you want to deal with misinformation and kind of nip it in the butt before it gets too far. And get it off your social media, get people to stop talking about it. And if you want to school somebody, go find the original source and school them on what the correct information is, so that we can stop misinformation, because it's definitely something that we've been dealing a lot with for sure. Okay. All right. Well,
I think that just about wraps up everything.
Yeah, it definitely does. Thank you, Zoe and Felix, for all of your commentary and your help. It was so fun having you guys.
This is a great pleasure.
Yeah, I got to spend so much time with you guys, because I never get to spend time with you. So I like this. It's good. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I certainly hope you learned something about misinformation. And hopefully, you can use SIFT when you're out there sifting through all of the information on social. And of course, if there are ever any questions, Science North is here to help you out. Please feel free to ask us whatever you want to know, and keep up to date with our misinformation project. We will be here until well into 2021 talking about this and talking about COVID-19. So, okay, there we go. Okay.
And I think we'll be reaching out to the people that were on the podium as well. Hopefully you put in the right email address, because that's how we'll be contacting people.
Thank you, Felix, for the reminder. Yes. We will definitely be doing that. Okay.
There you go.
Cool. Okay, guys, have a good night.
Have a great night, everyone.